She walked out the door, and I knew it was coming. It should have happened long ago. For months, she'd been distant, annoyed, ambivalent, or confrontational. Nothing I did helped. The few good times we had were with friends, providing a distraction from our miserable lives. My name is Jack Henderson, and she's my wife, Lisa. At least, for a while. I've already spoken to a divorce attorney. 26 years of marriage ends not with a bang but a whimper. I'll tell my son and daughters this weekend. I don't know where we went wrong. Most of our marriage was good, not great, but good. Our children, Mark, Jessica, and Emily, are healthy and well settled. 2 are still in college, and 1 graduated 6 months ago, possibly triggering our issues. The empty nest syndrome hit hard when our first child left for college. It changed her dramatically. No matter how much I hinted, wooed, or begged, things never improved. Intimacy vanished from our lives, leading to heated arguments. Eventually, I gave up. Why seek closeness with someone who doesn't want it? Recently, she changed again, and not for the better. Now she's leaving, and it's hard to feel sad. I know she's going to a lover, some guy 10 years younger. I noticed the change months ago and asked around. I work 50 to 60 hours a week at an engineering firm in Madison, Wisconsin. It's a great job, but sometimes requires odd hours. Being on call posed challenges like missing weekend events, but the pay is good, and I prefer Madison's small-town feel over big cities. We lived in Chicago for several years. There, everyone knows everyone. After a week of asking, my best friend Tom confirmed my suspicions. "You were right, Jack," he said. He told me Lisa had been having lunch with a guy weekly for at least 3 months. Carol, her co-worker and Tom's cousin, saw them. Lisa works at a local printing company as an administrative assistant. She's been there for 15 years. At 48, she still looks great, which likely attracted David Palmer, a salesman from another firm. He's divorced with 2 kids and cheated on his wife. I doubt Lisa is his only affair. Lisa left for a spa weekend, supposedly alone, to escape our tension. I knew she was meeting him. 2 weeks ago, she took a day off to be with him. I followed her to a hotel and saw them together. That's when I contacted my divorce attorney. She'll get the summons on her resort weekend. I just need to call when the GPS tracker shows she's at her destination. Some might say I should have confronted her, but after 3 years of no closeness, you question if it's worth it. Maybe we'll both be happier apart. For her sake, I hope so. I've always been someone who finds happiness in any situation. Why dwell on the negative when there are good things every day? So, I sit here with my phone, tracking her progress to meet her destiny. I'm excited and a little anxious about going to Green Bay to spend the next 2 nights with David, my friend and lover. He understands me and listens without judgment or trying to fix my problems. He doesn't demand anything from me, unlike my husband, Jack. There's no pressure, no expectations, no whining or pleading. Jack just doesn't get it. As I go through changes, I don't want or need intimacy like in my 20s. I need someone who listens and loves me for who I am, and David has been that person for the past 3 months. We started going out to lunch and talking. He made me feel special, like more than just a mom or an administrative assistant. 2 weeks ago, he asked if I could get away for an afternoon. He had been hinting at a relationship, saying how he likes to pamper a woman. The attention and desire from someone 10 years younger made me wonder. I agreed to take Thursday off, and he booked a room at a hotel. I was nervous but knew he cared about me. When I arrived, we talked for a while. He complimented me, saying, "Lisa, you always look so good. I don't know how your boss gets any work done." I blushed and giggled. Then he kissed me, something Jack hadn't done in years. Minutes later, we were on the bed. I wanted to get home before Jack, so I showered and dressed quickly. "Do you think we could go away for the weekend?" David asked. "I can rent a riverside inn near Green Bay. We can enjoy the view, nature, and each other. The fall leaves are peaking." "That sounds nice, but I don't know what to tell my husband," I said, thinking about our deteriorating relationship. "Tell him you're going on a spa weekend. Is he really such a horrible person that he would deny you a little vacation?" David asked. "I don't know if he'd even notice," I said, thinking about how distant we'd become. "Okay, I'll schedule it for 2 weeks starting this Friday," he said. "That sounds great, David. I love spending time with you," I replied. "And I love spending time with you," he said. I left thinking we'd be together again in a couple of weeks. I drove home and arrived at the usual time. Jack wasn't there. He always works late. I felt a little guilty walking through the door. This was our shared home. I saw a family picture over the fireplace and our wedding photo on the mantel. I stopped and thought, what have I done? Our relationship isn't great, but is that a reason to leave him? I can't do anything to make him suspicious. I changed into jeans and a t-shirt, then went to the kitchen to make one of his favorite dishes, stuffed pork chops and mashed potatoes. I remember that day vividly. It was the final nail in our marriage's coffin. She stayed in the hotel room for over 3 hours. I knew what they were doing, and it broke my heart. We hadn't had closeness in over 3 years. She didn't even want to kiss me anymore, saying it always leads to you wanting one thing. I barely got quick kisses, let alone hugs. After seeing her leave the hotel, I drove around, not wanting to go home in my emotional state. At 8:30, I pulled into our garage and sat for a minute. She opened the door from the kitchen to the garage as I was getting out. "What were you doing? Didn't you just pull in a couple of minutes ago?" she asked. "Talking on the phone," I lied. "I made dinner, but it's getting cold. You better call when you're going to be up this late," she said irritably. "Sorry, a problem came up at work. I may be staying late more often," I said. That wasn't entirely a lie. I just didn't want to be around her. For the past 2 weeks, I'd been coming home late every night and on weekends, doing yard work and getting the house ready for winter. We were like roommates, but not for long. As soon as she reached her destination, I would call Tom Andrews, the sheriff. One of the benefits of living in a small town is knowing a lot of people. Tom and Marcia were friends. We often visited each other's homes. I had asked Tom a few days ago if he would serve the divorce papers on my wife. He was shocked until I explained. "I'm sorry to hear that, Jack. You and Lisa were together for a long time." "Yes, but we haven't been physically together for 3 years. 3 years, wow. Now that you mention it, I noticed some tension between you two lately. Half of me wants to hurt her, but the other half says there's no point in wasting energy on someone who doesn't love you anymore." "I'm sorry, Jack. When do you want her served?" "Saturday, I guess. Friday, she's leaving for a spa weekend. I'll know where she's staying by tonight. I'll track her car's GPS. Lisa's GPS stopped at a bed and breakfast. I called Tom. "What's up, Jack?" "A little numb. I probably won't sleep much tonight. Probably even less than she did." "Don't beat yourself up, Jack. You're doing something about it. Let the process take its course." 26 years, Tom. 26 years. Yeah, that's tough. Are you sure you want me to file? We haven't felt like a couple in years. This puts things in perspective. I'm sorry again, Jack. Thanks. I gave Tom the address of the bed and breakfast. He said he'd serve the divorce papers late tomorrow morning. My lawyer advised that without proof, we'd likely have to file for irreconcilable differences, but I wanted the papers to state I tried to file on the grounds of infidelity. I decided to wait until tomorrow to call the kids to avoid them alerting their mom. Those calls would be the hardest. I had a restless night, getting only 2 hours of sleep. I kept thinking about Lisa with this man and where our marriage went wrong. When we were younger, we couldn't wait to be together. Work was necessary, but my thoughts were always on coming home to her. When the kids came along, our priorities changed, but we were still a team. Now she had found another teammate. Our life together is over. This morning, she will be served with a summons, and we will each have our own team, just on different sides of the courtroom, me with my lawyer, her with hers, fighting for whatever remains of our life together. I lay on the bed staring into space, not bothering to undress last night. I should get up, shower, and change into something presentable. After a 3-hour drive from Madison to Green Bay, I finally arrived at the hotel where David awaited me. Despite grabbing a quick snack en route, it was already a little after 9 o'clock when I pulled into the driveway. David's presence waiting for me instantly lifted my spirits. "I was starting to think you wouldn't make it. I was worried Jack might stop you," he confessed as I stepped out of the car. "He doesn't control me. I've been counting down the days to this for 2 weeks, I reassured him with a smile. David suggested we socialize at the newly opened ice cream parlor before retrieving my belongings from the car, an idea I enthusiastically agreed to. Unlike my relationship with Jack, David desired more than just physical closeness. His gestures and attentiveness conveyed a deeper connection. Our stay at the bed and breakfast was delightful, with picturesque views of the river from our room, especially enchanting in the fall light. The following morning, I awoke beside David feeling rejuvenated after a restful night's sleep. "David, we should get up. Breakfast ends at 9 o'clock, I reminded him. "Let's skip it and pick up where we left off last night," he suggested with a mischievous grin. "If we're going to do that, I'll need a refresher," I replied coyly. As we indulged in each other's company, memories of my life with Jack flooded my mind. The wedding, raising our children, and upcoming milestones like our son's wedding. But amidst the closeness with David, a sense of guilt gnawed at me. Later, when a sheriff unexpectedly arrived serving me legal papers, my world was thrown into disarray. Jack was described as broken and unable to communicate. Panic seized me as I frantically tried to reach him, only to be met with silence. Leaving David behind, I hastily departed, desperate to confront Jack and make sense of the situation. Along the journey home, I was stopped for speeding, further adding to my distress. Despite the chaos, my determination to reach Jack remained unwavering. Tom's voice was steady over the phone. "I just called," he confirmed. "She was with a guy, him undressed on the bed and her in a robe." "Thanks, Tom, I appreciate it," I replied numbly, my mind reeling from the news. "Are you going to be okay?" he asked, his concern palpable even through the phone. "I don't know, Tom. I'll call Mara to come over," I muttered, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. "I just need to be alone," I added, needing space to process everything. "Okay, talk to you later," he said before we hung up. I turned off my phone and sat in silence, contemplating my marriage and the uncertain future ahead. An hour and a half later, I knew I had to tell the kids. How do I break the news? I wondered aloud. Turning my phone back on, I saw several voicemails from Lisa, which I ignored for now. I dialed Mark, my oldest son. "Hi, Dad," Mark answered cheerfully. "Hey, Mark, how's the new job?" I asked, trying to ease into the conversation. "Great, Dad, I love designing buildings." "I'm glad. Listen, I have some news," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "Are you okay?" he asked, the concern in his voice mirroring Tom's. "Physically, yes. Emotionally, no," I admitted. "What do you mean?" Mark's tone shifted, sensing the gravity of the situation. "Mark, I'm divorcing your mother," I said bluntly. There was stunned silence on the other end. After a moment, he asked, "What did she do?" He had already guessed the truth. "She chose someone else over me," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "Really? How long has this been going on?" he asked, his shock turning into disbelief. "I think a few months," I answered, the reality of it settling in deeper. "I'm sorry to hear that, Dad," he said softly. "Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you," I responded, feeling the weight of my words. "What are you going to do?" he asked, concern lacing his voice. "I filed for divorce this morning," I informed him, my decision final. "You don't think you can work it out?" he asked hopefully. "Mark, if Jane cheated on you, what would you do?" I countered. Jane was Mark's steady girlfriend, and he was planning to propose to her on New Year's Eve. "I'd throw her out," he said after a moment of thought. "Please don't call your sisters. I want to tell them myself," I requested. "I won't, Dad. I'll call you tonight to discuss it more," he promised. "Thanks, Mark. We'll get through this," I said, trying to reassure both him and myself. "Dad, don't hate Mom for this. That's between her and you. She's still your mom," he advised gently. "I don't know how much support I can give her, Mark," I admitted, the pain still fresh. "I know, but you have to try. Okay, Dad? She's still my mom. I love her, even though I don't like what she did," he said, his voice firm. "I understand, Mark. I love her too, but I don't like her anymore," I confessed. "I'm sorry, Dad. You don't deserve this," he said softly. "Take care of yourself, son," I told him, the conversation drawing to a close. "You too, Dad," he replied. "Bye," I said, hanging up and staring into space. My phone rang, and I answered without thinking. "Hello," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. There was silence. Then a voice said, "Jack, thanks for answering. We need to talk." It was Lisa. I ended the conversation and turned off my phone. Someday I would need to talk to her, but not now. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of the papers that had just been served to me. Divorce papers. Jack was serious. The guilt and shame washed over me as I realized the full impact of my actions. David noticed my distress and tried to comfort me, but it was no use. I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was falling apart. "Lisa, are you okay?" David asked, his concern evident. "No, I'm not," I replied, tears streaming down my face. "Jack filed for divorce. I don't know what to do." David hugged me, trying to offer solace, but his presence only made me feel worse. I had betrayed my husband, and now I was paying the price. The drive back to Madison was a blur. My mind raced with thoughts of the past few months, the secret lunches, the stolen moments, the lies. I had never intended for things to go this far. When David first showed interest in me, I felt flattered and excited. He made me feel special, something I hadn't felt in years. But now, as I faced the reality of my actions, the excitement was replaced with regret. I arrived home to an empty house. Jack was gone, and the silence was deafening. I wandered through the rooms, memories of our life together flooding back. The family photos, the mementos of our children's milestones, the little things that made our house a home. All of it felt tainted now. I decided to call my best friend Karen. She had always been there for me, through the good times and the bad. I needed someone to talk to, someone who wouldn't judge me. "Hey Lisa, what's up?" Karen answered cheerfully. "Karen, I need to talk to you. Can you come over?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Of course, I'll be there in 20 minutes, she replied, sensing the urgency in my voice. While waiting for Karen, I tried to gather my thoughts. How did it come to this? Where did we go wrong? I had so many questions and no answers. Karen arrived and hugged me tightly. "What's going on, Lisa? You sounded so upset." "Jack filed for divorce," I said, barely holding back the tears. "Oh my God, Lisa, I'm so sorry. What happened?" she asked, leading me to the couch. "I've been seeing someone else," I confessed. "David, a guy from work. Jack found out and filed for divorce." Karen looked shocked. "Lisa, why? Why did you do it?" "I don't know, Karen. I was unhappy. Jack and I haven't been close for years. I felt neglected, unloved. David made me feel special again," I explained, the guilt weighing heavily on me. "That doesn't excuse what you did, Lisa, but I understand how you felt," Karen said gently. "What are you going to do now?" "I don't know. Jack won't even talk to me. He had the papers served while I was with David. I tried calling him, but he won't answer," I said, feeling hopeless. "You need to talk to him, Lisa, face to face. Maybe you can work things out," Karen suggested. "I don't think he wants to work things out. He's hurt and angry, and I don't blame him," I admitted. "Even if it's over, you need closure. For both of you," Karen said firmly. The next morning, I decided to confront Jack at his office. I couldn't let things end like this. I needed to apologize, to explain myself, even if he didn't want to hear it. As I drove to his workplace, my heart pounded with anxiety. What if he refused to see me? What if he had already moved on? When I arrived, I took a deep breath and walked into the building. The receptionist recognized me and let me through, her sympathetic look making me feel even worse. I knocked on Jack's office door, hoping he would let me in. "Come in," his voice called from inside. I opened the door and saw Jack sitting at his desk, looking tired and worn. He glanced up and his expression hardened when he saw me. "Lisa, what are you doing here?" he asked coldly. "I need to talk to you, Jack, please," I pleaded. He sighed and gestured for me to sit down. "Fine, talk." "Jack, I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I know what I did was wrong, and I regret it deeply," I began, my voice shaking. "Why, Lisa, why did you do it?" he asked, the pain evident in his eyes. "I felt neglected, unloved. We haven't been close for years. I was lonely. And David made me feel wanted again," I explained, tears streaming down my face. "That's not an excuse, Lisa. You could have talked to me, told me how you felt. Instead, you chose to betray me," Jack said, his voice filled with anger. "I know, and I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I needed to tell you how I feel, I said, feeling a sense of relief at finally speaking the truth. Jack looked at me for a long moment before speaking. I can't do this anymore, Lisa. The trust is gone. I don't see how we can fix this. Please, Jack, can we at least try? For the kids? I begged. I don't know, Lisa. Right now, all I feel is anger and betrayal. I need time to think, he said, his voice softening slightly. I nodded, understanding that this was the best I could hope for. Thank you, Jack. I hope one day you can find it in your heart to forgive me. As I left his office, I felt a mix of emotions, regret, sadness, but also a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to move forward, even if it wasn't together. The days that followed were a blur of emotional turmoil. Jack's words replayed in my mind constantly, each repetition driving the knife of guilt deeper. I couldn't concentrate at work, and my colleagues noticed my distracted state. Carol, who had always been more than just a coworker, approached me one afternoon. Lisa, are you okay? You've seemed off lately, she said, her voice full of concern. I sighed, debating whether to confide in her. I'm going through some personal issues, Carol. It's complicated. Do you want to talk about it? Sometimes it helps to share, she offered. I hesitated before nodding. Jack filed for divorce. He found out about David and me. Carol's eyes widened. Oh, Lisa, I'm so sorry. I had no idea things had gotten so serious. Neither did I, until it was too late, I replied, feeling the weight of my mistakes. Carol placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. If you need anything, even just someone to listen, I'm here for you. Thanks, Carol. That means a lot, I said, grateful for her support. That evening, I decided to visit my children. They deserved to hear the truth from me, not from rumors or secondhand accounts. I drove to Mark's apartment first. He opened the door, his expression a mix of confusion and concern. Mom, what are you doing here? He asked, stepping aside to let me in. Mark, we need to talk. It's about your father and me, I began, my voice trembling. We sat down in the living room, and I took a deep breath. Your father has filed for divorce. He found out that I've been seeing someone else. Mark's face fell, and he ran a hand through his hair. I had a feeling something was going on. But Mom, why? Why would you do this to Dad? I felt neglected, Mark. Your father and I haven't been close for years. I was lonely, and I made a terrible mistake, I admitted, tears welling up. That doesn't make it right, Mom. I can't believe you would hurt Dad like this, he said, his voice filled with disappointment. I know, and I'm sorry. I regret it every day, but I need you to understand that it wasn't about you or your sisters. This was between your father and me, I explained. Mark sighed. I get that, but it's still hard to accept. What are you going to do now? I'm going to try to talk to your father, see if there's any chance we can work things out. But if not, I'll accept the divorce and move forward, I said, trying to sound hopeful. Good luck, Mom. I hope you can find a way to fix this, Mark said, though his tone was uncertain. Next, I visited Jessica at her college dorm. She greeted me with a hug, but I could tell she sensed something was wrong. Mom, what's going on? You look upset, she said, leading me to her room. I sat on her bed, taking a moment to compose myself. Jess, your father and I are getting a divorce. He found out about my affair. Jessica's eyes widened in shock. Mom, no! How could you do that? I know, sweetie, I made a terrible mistake, and I'm so sorry. Your father and I have been struggling for a long time, and I felt so alone, I explained, my voice breaking. But why didn't you talk to Dad? Why did you turn to someone else? She asked, tears streaming down her face. I tried, Jess, but we just couldn't connect anymore. I know it doesn't excuse what I did, but it's the truth, I said, reaching out to hold her hand. I don't know what to say, Mom. I'm hurt and angry, but I also love you, she said, her voice filled with emotion. I love you too, Jess. And I'm so sorry for the pain I've caused. I just hope one day you can forgive me, I said, hugging her tightly. Finally, I drove to Emily's place. She had just graduated and was starting her first job. I dreaded this conversation the most, knowing how close she was to her father. Mom, "This is a surprise," Emily said, welcoming me in. "Emily, we need to talk. It's about your father and me," I said, my heart pounding. We sat down and I took a deep breath. "Your father has filed for divorce. He found out about my affair." Emily's face turned pale. "Mom, how could you? Dad loves you so much." "I know, and I betrayed that love. I was lonely and made a terrible mistake. I'm so sorry, Emily," I said, tears falling. "I can't believe this." "What are we supposed to do now?" she asked, her voice trembling. "We'll get through this, Emily. It won't be easy, but we will. Your father and I will try to handle this as amicably as possible," I promised. Emily hugged me, and we cried together. The pain and regret were overwhelming, but I knew I had to face the consequences of my actions. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of emotions and legal proceedings. Jack and I attended a few counseling sessions, but it was clear that he was resolute in his decision. The trust was shattered, and there was no going back. David tried to be supportive, but our relationship felt tainted now. The excitement and thrill were replaced with guilt and uncertainty. I began to distance myself from him, realizing that I needed to focus on healing and figuring out my next steps alone. One evening, as I was packing up some of my belongings, Jack called. It was the first time he had reached out since the papers were served. "Lisa, we need to talk about the kids and how we're going to handle the holidays," he said, his voice tired but calm. "Okay, Jack. I think we should try to keep things as normal as possible for them. They don't need any more upheaval." I agreed. "Agreed? Let's sit down with them this weekend and discuss how we can make this work," he suggested. "That sounds like a good idea." "Thank you, Jack," I said, feeling a small sense of relief. As I hung up the phone, I realized that while our marriage was ending, we still had a shared responsibility to our children. It wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to make amends and find a way to move forward. Jack sat at his desk, staring at the divorce papers in front of him. The weight of the decision he had made felt heavy, but he knew it was the right one. The betrayal cut deep, and the trust he once had in Lisa was shattered beyond repair. He took a deep breath and picked up the phone to call their children. They deserved to hear it from him, not from rumors or second-hand accounts. First, he called Mark. The conversation had been difficult, but he was relieved that Mark understood his perspective. Next, he dialed Jessica's number. She answered on the second ring. "Hi, Dad. How are you?" Jessica's cheerful voice greeted him. "Hi, Jess. I'm okay. Listen, I need to talk to you about something important," Jack said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Sure. What's up?" she asked, her tone becoming serious. "Your mother and I are getting a divorce. She's been seeing someone else," Jack explained, his heart aching with every word. Jessica was silent for a moment before responding. "Oh, Dad, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" "I'm managing, Jess. It's been tough, but I know this is the right decision. We just couldn't go on like this," he said, trying to reassure her. "Do Mark and Emily know?" she asked. "I've talked to Mark. I'm about to call Emily next. I wanted to tell you all personally," Jack said. "Thanks for telling me, Dad. I love you, and I'm here for you," Jessica said, her voice filled with compassion. "I love you too, Jess. We'll get through this together," he replied before hanging up. Finally, he called Emily. The conversation was similar to the ones with Mark and Jessica, filled with shock, sadness, and support. By the end of it, Jack felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. His children knew the truth, and they were standing by him. Meanwhile, Lisa was dealing with her own turmoil. The revelation of her affair had not only shattered her marriage, but also strained her relationships with her children. She had spent countless nights lying awake, plagued by guilt and regret. She decided to call David to end things once and for all. "David, we need to talk," Lisa said when he answered the phone. "Lisa, what's wrong? You sound upset," David replied, concern evident in his voice. "This isn't working, David. My marriage is over and I need to focus on my family. We can't see each other anymore," Lisa said, her voice trembling. "Lisa, please don't do this. I care about you," David pleaded. "I'm sorry, David. I need to do this for myself and my kids. Goodbye," Lisa said, hanging up before he could respond. As the weekend approached, Jack and Lisa prepared for the difficult conversation with their children about how to handle the holidays. They met at a neutral location, a small cafe halfway between their homes. Jack arrived first, ordering a coffee and finding a quiet corner to sit and gather his thoughts. Lisa walked in a few minutes later looking anxious and exhausted. "Hi, Jack," she greeted him softly. "Hi, Lisa, let's get this over with," Jack replied, his tone cold but not unkind. They discussed the logistics of the holidays, agreeing to keep things as normal as possible for the sake of the children. They decided to alternate holidays, with the kids spending Thanksgiving with Jack and Christmas with Lisa. It was a painful conversation, but necessary. That evening, they gathered at Jack's house to talk to the kids. The atmosphere was tense, and the children sensed that something serious was happening. "Mom, Dad, what's going on?" Emily asked, her eyes wide with worry. "We need to talk about the holidays," Jack began, his voice steady. "Your mother and I have decided to alternate holidays to make this transition easier for all of us. We know this is hard, but we want to make sure you all still feel loved and supported," Lisa added, her voice cracking slightly. Mark, Jessica, and Emily listened quietly, processing the news. There were tears and questions, but ultimately they understood their parents' decision. The evening ended on a somber note, with everyone feeling the weight of the changes to come. As Jack and Lisa prepared to part ways, Lisa looked at Jack with tear-filled eyes. "Jack, I know I've hurt you deeply and I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know that I'm truly sorry for everything." Jack nodded, his expression softening slightly. "I appreciate that, Lisa. Maybe one day we can find a way to be civil for the kids' sake." With that, they said their goodbyes and went their separate ways. The road ahead was uncertain, but they both knew that they had to find a way to move forward. In the following weeks, Jack threw himself into his work, finding solace in the routine and the distractions it provided. He started going to the gym more regularly, using exercise as a way to channel his emotions. He even reconnected with old friends, finding comfort in their support and camaraderie. Lisa, on the other hand, struggled with the loneliness and the consequences of her actions. She continued to attend counseling sessions, trying to understand her behavior and work through her guilt. She also made an effort to rebuild her relationships with her children, reaching out to them regularly and trying to be there for them as much as possible. One day while at work, Lisa received a call from her boss, Mr. Mitchell. He asked her to come to his office immediately. Nervously, she walked down the hall, wondering what could be so urgent. "Lisa, please have a seat," Mr. Mitchell said as she entered his office. "Is everything okay?" she asked, her anxiety rising. "Lisa, I've been made aware of your personal situation and I want you to know that we value your work here. However, I need to inform you that David Palmer will no longer be working with us. His behavior has come to light and we can't condone it," Mr. Mitchell explained. Lisa felt a mix of relief and anxiety. "I understand. Thank you for letting me know." As she left Mr. Mitchell's office, she couldn't help but feel the weight of her actions once more. But she also felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe this was a chance to start over, to rebuild her life and her relationships. The aftermath of the revelation brought a series of unexpected consequences that rippled through every aspect of their lives. Jack's resolve to move forward was tested daily, but he remained steadfast in his decision. Meanwhile, Lisa faced the growing repercussions of her actions, both at home and at work. At the engineering firm, Jack's colleagues noticed a change in him. He was more focused, more determined than ever. His boss, Mr. Roberts, called him into his office one afternoon. "Jack, I wanted to talk to you about a new project we're starting. It's a big one, and I think you're the right person to lead it," Mr. Roberts said, sliding a folder across the desk. Jack opened the folder and scanned the documents. "This is a significant project? Are you sure I'm the right fit?" "I have no doubt, Jack. You've shown incredible dedication and leadership, especially recently. I think this project could be just what you need," Mr. Roberts said, his tone encouraging. Jack nodded, feeling a sense of purpose. "Thank you, Mr. Roberts. I won't let you down." While Jack found solace in his work, Lisa's situation at the printing company grew more complicated. With David Palmer no longer working there, the office was abuzz with rumors and gossip. Carol, ever the supportive friend, did her best to shield Lisa from the worst of it, but it was impossible to avoid entirely. One morning, Lisa was called into Mr. Mitchell's office again. She braced herself for what might come next. "Lisa, I wanted to discuss your role here," Mr. Mitchell began, his expression serious. "Given the recent events, I think it would be best if we reassigned some of your responsibilities." Lisa felt a pang of anxiety. "Are you saying I'm being demoted?" "Not exactly. We're just shifting things around to ensure the team functions smoothly. You'll still be an important part of the team, but in a different capacity," he explained. Lisa nodded, understanding the underlying message. "I see. Thank you for being honest with me." As she left his office, Lisa felt a mix of relief and frustration. She knew she had to prove herself again, not just to her colleagues, but to herself. Determined to make the best of the situation, she threw herself into her new responsibilities with renewed vigor. At home, the strain on her relationship with her children was palpable. They were polite, but distant, clearly struggling with their own feelings about the divorce and her affair. One evening, Emily approached her with a mix of anger and sadness. "Mom, why did you do it? Why did you cheat on Dad?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. Lisa took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "Emily, I know what I did was wrong. I felt lonely and neglected, and I made a terrible mistake. I wish I could take it back." "But you can't, Mom. And now everything is different," Emily said, tears streaming down her face. "I know, sweetie, and I'm so sorry. All I can do now is try to make things right and be here for you," Lisa said, reaching out to hug her daughter. As the days turned into weeks, both Jack and Lisa tried to navigate their new realities. Jack found a sense of peace in his work and his newfound independence, while Lisa struggled to rebuild her life and her relationships with her children. Despite the challenges, she remained hopeful that, in time, they could heal. One weekend, Jack decided to take a trip to the cabin in the woods that he and Lisa had bought years ago. It was a place filled with memories, both good and bad. He needed some time alone to reflect and decide his next steps. The drive was long, but the solitude of the cabin offered a welcome respite from the chaos of his everyday life. As he sat by the fireplace, the warmth of the flames bringing a sense of comfort, he thought about the past, the good times, the bad times, and everything in between. He realized that while the pain of betrayal was still fresh, he also had an opportunity to start anew, to find happiness on his own terms. Meanwhile, Lisa continued her counseling sessions, delving deeper into the reasons behind her actions. She began to understand the patterns and behaviors that had led her to make such destructive choices. It was a painful process, but necessary for her growth. One afternoon, after a particularly intense session, she decided to visit the community center where she used to volunteer. It had been years since she had been there, but she remembered how much joy it brought her to help others. She walked in, feeling a mix of nostalgia and nervousness. "Lisa, is that you?" A familiar voice called out. She turned to see Mrs. Thompson, the coordinator of the center. "Mrs. Thompson, it's been a long time." "It sure has. What brings you back here?" Mrs. Thompson asked, her smile warm and welcoming. "I was hoping to volunteer again. I need to do something meaningful, something positive," Lisa explained. "We'd love to have you back, Lisa. There's always work to be done," Mrs. Thompson said, handing her a volunteer application. As Lisa filled out the form, she felt a sense of purpose returning. She realized that while she couldn't change the past, she could make a difference in the present. It was a small step, but an important one in her journey towards redemption. Back at work, Jack's new project was progressing well. He found himself enjoying the challenge and the sense of accomplishment it brought. His colleagues noticed the change in him, and he even began to socialize more, joining them for after-work gatherings and weekend barbecues. One Friday evening, Jack found himself at a local bar with his co-workers. As they chatted and laughed, he felt a sense of camaraderie that had been missing for a long time. It was a reminder that life went on, and that there was still joy to be found in the simplest of moments. As the months passed, Jack and Lisa settled into their new routines. They continued to co-parent their children, making an effort to attend family events and support their kids despite their differences. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary for their children's well-being. Lisa's efforts at the community center began to pay off. She found herself connecting with the people she helped, finding solace in their stories and strength in their resilience. It was a reminder that everyone had struggles and that there was always a way to make a positive impact. Jack, too, found himself changing. He began to open up more, both to his friends and to himself. He realized that while the past could not be undone, it didn't have to define his future. He could choose to move forward, to find happiness and fulfillment in new ways. One evening, as the sun set over Madison, Jack sat on his porch, reflecting on the journey he had been on. It had been a difficult road, filled with pain and heartbreak, but also growth and renewal. He realized that he was stronger than he had ever thought possible, and that there was still so much to look forward to. Meanwhile, Lisa sat in her living room, surrounded by the warmth of the home she had worked so hard to rebuild. She knew there was still a long way to go, but she felt a sense of hope and determination. She was ready to face whatever came next, knowing that she had the strength to overcome it. As they both looked to the future, Jack and Lisa knew that their paths would continue to cross, but in different ways. They had each found a way to move forward, to find happiness and fulfillment on their own terms, and in that, there was a sense of peace. Life had begun to find a new rhythm for both Jack and Lisa, but the path forward was far from smooth. Unexpected twists and turns continued to test their resolve and the strength of their family bonds. Jack had just wrapped up a successful presentation for his new project when his phone buzzed with a message from Emily. She wanted to meet for lunch to discuss something important. He agreed, sensing a seriousness in her tone that he couldn't ignore. They met at a small cafe downtown. Emily arrived first, nervously fidgeting with her cup of coffee. Jack greeted her with a warm smile, but his concern grew as he noticed her anxious demeanor. "Hey, Dad," Emily said, her voice tinged with apprehension. "Hey, Em, what's going on? You sounded pretty serious on the phone," Jack replied, taking a seat across from her. "I wanted to talk to you about Mom," she began, her eyes searching his for understanding. "I've been spending more time with her lately, and I think she's really trying to change." Jack sighed, bracing himself for the conversation. "Emily, I know this has been hard on you and your siblings. Your mom made some big mistakes, but I hope you know I want what's best for all of you." "I know, Dad, and I get why you're hurt, but she's really making an effort to be there for us and to make amends. I just thought you should know," Emily said, her voice earnest. Jack nodded, appreciating her perspective. "Thanks for telling me, Emily. I'm glad she's trying, for your sake." As they continued their conversation, Jack realized how much Emily had matured. She was handling the situation with a level of grace and understanding that made him proud. It also made him consider whether he was being too harsh on Lisa, holding on to his anger and resentment. Meanwhile, Lisa was facing her own unexpected twist. One evening, she received a call from an old friend, Sarah, who had recently moved back to town. They arranged to meet for coffee, and Lisa was both excited and nervous about reconnecting. Sarah arrived at the cafe looking as vibrant as ever. They hugged and caught up on each other's lives, sharing stories and laughter. But when the conversation turned to Lisa's recent struggles, Sarah offered an unexpected perspective. "Lisa, I know it's been tough, but I think you need to forgive yourself," Sarah said gently. "Holding on to all this guilt isn't helping anyone, least of all you." Lisa felt a lump in her throat. "It's hard, Sarah. I've hurt so many people, and I don't know if I deserve forgiveness." "We all make mistakes, Lisa. What matters is what you do next. You've been working hard to make things right. That's what counts," Sarah reassured her. Their conversation left Lisa feeling a mix of emotions, hope, fear, and a renewed sense of determination. She realized that in order to truly move forward, she needed to let go of the past and embrace the possibility of a better future. As Jack and Lisa navigated these personal revelations, another unexpected twist came from an external source. Jack received a call from an old college friend, Mike, who had recently started his own engineering firm and was looking for a partner. Mike knew about Jack's recent challenges and offered him an opportunity to join forces and build something new. "Jack, I know this is sudden, but I think we could do great things together. What do you say?" Mike proposed. Jack was intrigued, but also cautious. "It's a big decision, Mike. Let me think about it and get back to you." As he pondered the offer, Jack saw it as a chance to redefine his career and life on his own terms. It was a risk, but one that could lead to new opportunities and personal growth. Back in Madison, Lisa was also considering a new opportunity. Mrs. Thompson at the community center had approached her about taking on a larger role, coordinating volunteer activities and outreach programs. It was a significant commitment, but one that aligned with Lisa's desire to make a positive impact. "Lisa, you've done amazing work here. We could really use your leadership," Mrs. Thompson said during their meeting. Lisa felt a surge of pride and excitement. "I'd love to help in any way I can. Thank you for believing in me." As both Jack and Lisa contemplated these new paths, they found themselves at a crossroads. The unexpected twists in their lives had brought challenges, but also opportunities for growth and change. They realized that while their marriage had ended, their journeys were far from over. One evening, as the sun set over Madison, Jack sat on his porch, reflecting on Mike's offer. The idea of starting something new was both thrilling and terrifying, but he knew that staying stagnant was not an option. He picked up the phone and called Mike. "Mike, I've thought about it and I'm in. Let's do this," Jack said, feeling a sense of resolve. "That's great news, Jack. I can't wait to get started," Mike replied enthusiastically. Meanwhile, Lisa was preparing for her first big project at the community center. She felt a mix of nerves and excitement, knowing that this was her chance to make a real difference. As she organized the materials for the upcoming event, she received a text from Sarah. "Remember, Lisa, you've got this. You're stronger than you think," the message read. Lisa smiled, feeling a sense of support and encouragement. She knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but she was ready to face it head-on. As the weeks turned into months, Jack and Lisa both embraced their new roles and opportunities. They continued to navigate their complex family dynamics, making an effort to support their children and each other in their respective journeys. For Jack, the partnership with Mike brought a renewed sense of purpose and excitement. They worked tirelessly to build their firm, tackling new projects and expanding their network. Jack found himself enjoying the challenge and the camaraderie, rediscovering his passion for engineering. Lisa's work at the community center flourished. She led successful outreach programs, connecting with the community and making a tangible difference in people's lives. The experience gave her a sense of fulfillment and redemption, helping her to heal from the past. Through it all, Jack and Lisa maintained a cordial relationship, focused on co-parenting and supporting their children. They attended family events together, putting aside their differences for the sake of their kids. While their paths had diverged, they found a way to coexist and move forward. One evening, as Jack prepared for another busy day at the firm, he received a call from Emily. She wanted to invite him to a special event at the community center, where Lisa would be recognized for her contributions. "Dad, I think it would mean a lot to Mom if you came. She's worked so hard, and she deserves this recognition," Emily said. Jack hesitated, but then agreed. "I'll be there, Emily. Thanks for letting me know." On the day of the event, Jack arrived at the community center and was greeted by Emily and her siblings. They all took their seats, waiting for the ceremony to begin. When Lisa's name was called, she walked to the stage with a mix of pride and humility. As she accepted her award, Lisa glanced out at the audience and saw Jack and her children smiling at her. The moment was bittersweet, a reminder of the journey they had all been on. But it was also a testament to their resilience and the new paths they had forged. In the end, the unexpected twists in their lives had brought them to a place of growth and understanding. They had each found a way to move forward, embracing the future with hope and determination. And in that, there was a sense of peace and fulfillment that they had never imagined possible. Jack sat in his new office, the sun streaming through the windows, casting a warm glow on the room. He had never imagined that he would be in this position, co-founding a new engineering firm with his college friend Mike. The challenges had been immense, but the rewards were equally gratifying. The firm was thriving, and Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose and fulfillment. However, his personal life was still a work in progress. While he had come to terms with the end of his marriage, there were lingering feelings of anger and betrayal. He knew he needed to find closure, not just for himself, but for the sake of his children. One evening, after a long day at work, Jack received an unexpected visitor. Lisa stood at his doorstep, looking worn and apprehensive. "Jack, can we talk?" she asked, her voice soft and hesitant. He nodded and stepped aside to let her in. They sat in the living room, the silence heavy between them. "Jack, I know I've said this before, but I'm truly sorry for everything," Lisa began, her eyes filled with regret. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need to ask for one last chance to make things right for our family." Jack sighed, the weight of her words pressing down on him. "Lisa, I've moved on. I'm building a new life and I'm happy, but I understand that we need to co-parent and support our children together. I know, and I'm not asking to go back to how things were. I just want us to find a way to be civil and work together for the kids," Lisa said, her voice trembling. Jack looked at her, seeing the sincerity in her eyes. He knew that holding on to his anger would only hurt them all in the long run. "All right, Lisa. Let's try to find a way to make this work, but it won't be easy, and it will take time." Lisa nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. "Thank you, Jack. I promise I'll do whatever it takes." Over the next few weeks, Jack and Lisa began attending mediation sessions to work through their issues and establish a co-parenting plan. It was a difficult and emotional process, but they both knew it was necessary for the well-being of their children. During one session, the mediator suggested a family meeting to discuss their new arrangement. Jack and Lisa agreed, and they arranged to meet at their old family home. The children, Mark, Jessica, and Emily, were anxious but hopeful about the meeting. As they all sat around the dining table, Jack took a deep breath and began. "We wanted to talk to you all about how we're going to move forward as a family. Your mom and I have decided to work together to co-parent and support you all." Mark, always the practical one, asked, "What does that mean for us, day to day?" Lisa smiled, grateful for his straightforwardness. "It means that we'll coordinate on all the important decisions, attend events together when possible, and make sure you have the support you need." Jessica, the emotional heart of the family, looked between her parents with teary eyes. "Does this mean things are going to be okay?" Jack reached out and took her hand. "Yes, Jess. It means we're going to do our best to make things okay. It won't be perfect, but we'll get through it together." Emily, the youngest, nodded thoughtfully. "I'm glad you're both trying. It means a lot to us." The family meeting ended on a hopeful note, with everyone feeling a sense of relief and optimism. Jack and Lisa knew they had a long road ahead, but they were committed to making it work. As the months passed, their co-parenting arrangement began to settle into a routine. They attended school events, celebrated birthdays, and navigated the ups and downs of family life together. While the pain of the past still lingered, they found a way to coexist and support their children. One evening, Jack received a call from his sister, Mary. She had always been a pillar of support for him, and he valued her advice. "Jack, I've been thinking about everything you've been through," Mary said. "Have you ever considered that maybe forgiving Lisa could help you heal?" Jack was taken aback. "Forgiving her? After everything?" "Yes, Jack. Forgiveness isn't about excusing what she did. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of anger and resentment," Mary explained gently. Jack pondered her words long after their conversation ended. He realized that holding on to his anger was preventing him from fully moving forward. He decided to take a step towards forgiveness, not for Lisa, but for himself. A few days later, he called Lisa and asked her to meet him at a park they used to visit with the kids. When she arrived, she looked nervous, unsure of what to expect. "Lisa, I've been thinking a lot about everything," Jack began. "I want you to know that I've decided to forgive you, not because what you did was okay, but because I need to let go of the anger for my own sake." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "Jack, I don't know what to say. Thank you. I promise I'll continue to do my best for our family." As they sat together in the park, watching the sun set, Jack felt a sense of peace wash over him. It wasn't a magical fix, but it was a step in the right direction. In the following weeks, Jack noticed a change in himself. He felt lighter, more at ease. His relationship with his children improved, and he found himself looking forward to the future with a renewed sense of hope. Lisa, too, experienced a shift. She continued her work at the community center, finding fulfillment in helping others. Her relationship with the children grew stronger, and she felt a sense of pride in the progress they had made as a family. As the holidays approached, Jack and Lisa decided to host a joint celebration for their children. It was a bold move, but one that symbolized their commitment to their family. The evening was filled with laughter, shared memories, and a sense of togetherness that had been missing for a long time. As Jack watched his children interact with their mother, he felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey they had all been on. He realized that while their marriage had ended, their family had found a way to heal and grow. The ultimatum he had faced, to hold on to anger or choose forgiveness, had led him to a place of peace and understanding. And in that moment, surrounded by his family, Jack knew that they would be okay. They had faced the storm and come out stronger on the other side. The future was uncertain, but they were ready to face it together. As the new year began, Jack and Lisa found themselves reflecting on the past and looking forward to the future. The journey had been long and arduous, but they had managed to rebuild their lives and their relationships with their children. One crisp Saturday morning, Jack received an invitation from the community center for a special event recognizing volunteers and their contributions. Lisa was being honored for her work, and Emily had ensured that Jack was invited. The event was held in the community center's auditorium, decorated warmly with banners and balloons. Jack arrived early and took a seat near the front, feeling a sense of pride for Lisa's accomplishments. As the ceremony began, various volunteers were called to the stage to receive their awards. Finally, it was Lisa's turn. She walked to the stage with a mixture of humility and pride, her eyes scanning the audience until they met Jack's. She smiled, a silent acknowledgement of the journey they had both endured. "Thank you," Lisa began, her voice steady. "Volunteering here has been a transformative experience for me. It's given me a sense of purpose and a way to give back to the community. I couldn't have done it without the support of my family and friends." As she continued her speech, Jack felt a deep sense of respect for her resilience and dedication. Despite their past, he was genuinely happy for her success. After the ceremony, Lisa approached Jack, her award in hand. "Thank you for coming, Jack. It means a lot to me." "Congratulations, Lisa. You deserve this," Jack replied sincerely. Their conversation was brief but meaningful, a testament to the progress they had made in mending their relationship. They both knew that while their marriage had ended, their commitment to their family remained strong. In the weeks that followed, Jack's engineering firm continued to thrive. He and Mike had secured several new contracts, and the future looked promising. Jack found himself enjoying the work and the camaraderie of his team. The sense of accomplishment and purpose filled a void that had long been empty. Lisa's work at the community center also flourished. She took on new projects, organized events, and continued to build connections within the community. The experience had not only helped her heal, but also provided a path to redemption. One evening, as Lisa was preparing dinner, Emily walked into the kitchen with a thoughtful expression. "Mom, I've been thinking a lot about everything we've been through. I'm really proud of you." Lisa looked up, her heart swelling with emotion. "Thank you, Emily. That means so much to me." "I know it hasn't been easy, but you've shown us what it means to grow and change," Emily continued. Lisa hugged her daughter, feeling a sense of fulfillment and peace. "I've learned a lot from all of you too. We're a strong family, and I'm grateful for that every day." Meanwhile, Jack had a similar conversation with Mark. They were working on a car in the garage, a hobby they had both enjoyed for years. "Dad, I wanted to say thank you for everything. You've been really strong through all of this, Mark said, handing Jack a wrench. Thanks, Mark. It's been tough, but we got through it together, Jack replied, tightening a bolt. I've learned a lot from watching you. How to handle adversity, how to move forward. I just wanted you to know that, Mark said, his voice sincere. Jack smiled, feeling a sense of pride. I'm proud of you too, son. You've grown into a fine young man. As the months passed, the family continued to navigate their new normal. They celebrated birthdays, attended graduations, and supported each other through the ups and downs of life. Jack and Lisa remained committed to their roles as co-parents, ensuring that their children felt loved and supported. One day, Jack received an unexpected call from his lawyer. Jack, there's been a development. Lisa's lawyer contacted me about finalizing the divorce settlement. They want to make some adjustments that might be beneficial for both of you. Jack felt a mix of emotions. The divorce had been a long and painful process, but he was ready to put it behind him. Okay, let's discuss it. The new settlement terms were more favorable than he had expected. Lisa had agreed to forego certain claims, and they had reached a mutual agreement on the division of assets. The process was amicable, a reflection of their efforts to move forward positively. A few weeks later, Jack and Lisa met at the courthouse to sign the final papers. The atmosphere was solemn but not hostile. They both understood that this was a necessary step in their journey. As they signed the documents, Jack looked at Lisa and said, "This is the end of one chapter, but I hope it's the beginning of a better future for both of us." Lisa nodded, her eyes filled with emotion. I agree, Jack. Thank you for everything. With the divorce finalized, both Jack and Lisa felt a sense of closure. They had come a long way from the pain and betrayal that had once defined their relationship. Now they were ready to embrace the future, each in their own way. Jack continued to build his firm, finding joy and fulfillment in his work. He also started dating again, cautiously opening his heart to new possibilities. He knew that finding love again would take time, but he was hopeful. Lisa's work at the community center remained a cornerstone of her life. She also took up painting, a hobby she had once loved but abandoned during the tumultuous years of her marriage. The creative outlet brought her peace and joy. As they both looked to the future, Jack and Lisa knew that their paths would continue to intersect through their children and their shared history. They had found a way to move forward, to forgive, and to grow. And in that, they found a sense of peace and fulfillment. On a sunny spring afternoon, the family gathered for a picnic at a local park. Jack, Lisa, Mark, Jessica, and Emily sat together, enjoying the warm weather and each other's company. They laughed, shared stories, and relished the simple joy of being together. As Jack looked around at his family, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. Life had taken many unexpected turns, but they had navigated the challenges and emerged stronger. They were not perfect, but they were resilient. Lisa caught his eye and smiled. It was a smile of understanding, of shared history, and mutual respect. They had come a long way, and while their journey was far from over, they were ready to face whatever came next. In that moment, surrounded by his family, Jack knew that they had truly found their way forward. It was a new beginning, filled with hope and possibility. And that was enough.